Welcome to Worthy the Podcast, where we have conversations about what it means to feel worthy and what happens when we don't. I'm your host, Jessica Raimondi. All right, everybody, welcome back to Worthy. This is a special episode because it is Mother's Day week that this episode will be airing, and who better to sit down with than my mom, the one and only Raimondi.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Mom.
I'm so excited to be on Worthy.
You are on Worthy. I love it. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for having you.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. So don't mind my voice, everybody. I actually did not have a voice for 5 days, which Dad really was loving that I didn't have a voice because I couldn't talk back to him. But yeah, I've been sick, so I have this little raspy voice going on. But enough about me. We're here with you, Mom. So this is also a really cool episode that we're doing because we happen to be recording it the day before your 79th birthday.
Correct? Yes.
So happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's get right to it. So 79.
That's someone else.
That's someone else.
Not me.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It takes some getting used to. And I noticed that when I was up to 76, not a problem. Everything
In what
was
way? Okay.
in everyday life.
Okay.
Everything was normal. Could do the things I want to do, did shopping, stupid things, laundry, all those things. After 76, something changed. And it's a little weird that you get to a place where you're limited, that you're not used to.
Right.
Many people are limited for millions of reasons. But in my case, I was just used to, I'm a doer. I little OCD going on, and I have certain ways of doing things, and I could see a change. So now that I'm 79, it's a little harder just to do normal everyday things that people don't think twice about, and I never did. But there's a transition time. It's sort of like with your illness last week. There comes a time when it transfers over to be, okay, I get this. And you start to accept that there's limitations. In your case, you had to heal. It took a while. That's kind of what this is like. It sort of takes a minute, and then you start to realize it's the way it is. It's okay. And then it gets better. I have
It gets
great
to a new
days.
level of better.
Right. But it's hard to accept when you're a certain way in life, But I'm accepting it, and I'm still here, and I love being here, and
You do. You have such a great attitude. First of all, you look amazing.
Thank you.
You always look amazing. But you definitely have this great outlook on life in general. I think you really have done your hardest to try to choose to be happy every day, to be grateful, and to look
Most
at
of
the
the
things.
time.
Yeah, you always say
I have my moments.
You do. We all do. But I think
Yeah.
just like day to day, and from what I see and have seen over the years, you always say that you're the luckiest girl in the world.
That's what my handle is.
Your new social media handle.
And that's how I feel. I really, really feel that. So when I have bad days, I try to remember that. It doesn't always work right that day. But I start to realize, think about it. Dad and I will be married 50 years this year.
Crazy.
We're still together. We're still in love, which is really shocking because, do people stay in love for 50 years? Not without ups and downs. And I looked back at my life one day and I said, I wouldn't change anything except the way I brought my kids up.
Ooh, well, there's so many places to go here, Mom. I have so many topics. Okay, let's come back to the kids because I really want to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Let's stay with this aging thing for a moment because I think being your daughter the last 10 years and watching you move through that kind of decade in, late 60s into 70s, has definitely, I've watched you, let's say struggle or get to
Change.
know and
Yeah.
change. But, can you talk about how aging has been? And I mean, you just talked about it a little bit, but more like when it comes to your worth and your value, like how has that affected you? Because I remember you saying things when you were in your like probably maybe early 60s about this idea of like becoming invisible. Could you say more on that?
It's the truth.
Okay.
Well, first of all, what do we scale that on? What's the way to look at it? Well, at first, as a woman, over the years, I was a young woman, and then I was a middle-aged woman, and during those times, it was kind of cool because you could sort of feel valuable. People pay attention to you, and then comes a time. It literally happens, or I'm not sure for everyone, but for me it happened when I noticed that people don't notice you anymore.
So you're talking about when you were younger, you'd get looks like from the way you looked physically.
It's
Yeah.
not just looks, it's like almost anything. It's very strange. And I started to notice it, probably the looks thing, probably in my 60s. And I'm like, oh boy,
Like you weren't turning as many heads kind of thing.
Well, that definitely. And that is
I find that hard to believe, but
Yeah.
okay.
for women or for anyone, you want to think you can still turn the heads, but that wasn't happening. And that was definitely affecting me. Then there was also the way you're treated.
Oh.
It's almost like you're invisible. I can remember going shopping with Beth to a furniture store. Beth's your sister, my oldest daughter.
Yes.
And she, a woman came out to help her, 'cause she was looking for the furniture. And she said, okay, let's go back here and look at this. I'll show you, on the screen of her computer what she wanted to show her. And she never once looked at me. She knew I was with Beth. She didn't look at me. She didn't include me in it. And now, is this woman a bad person? No. But what I'm getting at is that's what I started to notice.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't count anymore. It's very strange feeling. And I turned around and walked out. And not dramatically, like to make a big scene. I don't mean that. But I thought, well, she's talking to Beth. I'm getting out of here because she's not including me. I can't even see or hear what she's talking about. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about when you feel invisible. It's not just men looking at you. It's anyone acknowledging.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel that I do that with people, so I don't know. I don't know what causes it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, and so did you have any like inner dialogue about what that was like? How did you handle that?
I was bullshit.
Good, yeah.
I was bullshit because it was disrespectful.
Sure.
Respect for me is a big thing. And I thought, she sees that I'm with her. She sees that I'm older. And
her mother,
does she know I'm
probably,
going to buy this stuff?
I'm also putting down the bill.
You know what I mean? It's sort of,
That's very
well,
funny.
that was my joke, but
Yes,
you
that's
know.
funny.
But it's just sort of like when you're in a situation like that, it was a good opportunity for her to talk to both of us respectfully. She saw that I was with her. I went in the back room with her, So that kind of thing gets me.
So you got angry, you got bullshit, and then what did you feel?
I just left. I went outside.
But what did you feel like about it afterwards?
I felt sad.
Yeah.
Felt invisible.
Yeah.
It was nothing I could do. But poor Beth, of course, is worried, like, what the heck, And I didn't want to put her through anything. She didn't do anything wrong. And now she felt bad, and all that. Mom, why did you leave, And I tried to explain, honey, it's just disrespectful. She sees we're together. This is not your fault. It's nothing to do with anything you said or did or anything. And so we talked about it. She understood eventually. But I didn't want to be dramatic, but I was a little by leaving,
Well, yeah, it probably took you by surprise in a way. So this was like one of those first moments that you and you put the two and two together,
Yes. Yes, it was very frustrating. But yeah, I've had other little situations like that where I handle it differently. And as I go along, I handle it more differently because I can't be mad at the world like that. It's not going to go your way.
I'm sure it makes you want to be. And I'm sure a lot of, I think we understand a little bit why, the elderly are
grumpy. Very grumpy.
We remember like...
Well, something is usually bodily hurting
right,
you.
Something's hurting, yes.
And then there's this feeling of not being important anymore. Whereas I don't know if it would have been any different if I was younger. I don't know if this woman probably just wasn't thinking. She wasn't even, it isn't like she sat there and I'm going to ignore this lady.
But it was like it was like an automatic response.
Well, usually I find when people or myself react to things, it has always got to do with more than it looks like. It comes from rejection, for instance, and feeling rejected brings on spurs, I think.
Oh, keep going.
A lot of people, one person, rejecting you in one way or another, and that reminds you of all the times you've been hurt by that.
Yes.
So
like
what happens is you overreact, which I probably was doing.
Do you think that you had moments of rejection that came back in your life in that
Probably,
moment?
Yeah.
What do you think? So then you take this experience, you have more experiences, you're getting older, you're dealing with that. Well, how do you emotionally handle it? Like, what are your outlets or how do you process it? Because you have some really beautiful, turnarounds of things and reframing of things. I'm going to give that, I'll say that's one of your kind of superpowers is
Right.
But what do you do when you're with yourself with that?
Actually, I pride myself on educating myself. I feel very strongly. I think I'm a very progressive person for an old person. I really do.
You've always been.
I think differently than my generation generally does. Because I feel like it's up to me to learn about the world right now. It's nothing like when I was growing up, nothing. So it's up to me. And over the years, what I've done is I've been in therapy. Therapy saved my life. And it was so helpful. Yeah. So when that happened when I was younger, it spurs me to always get help, always read, figure it out, all that stuff. So I've changed a lot of things over the years. No, I'm not perfect at it, but you girls have told me, you and Beth have both sort of said the same thing. I can have a look that can
kill,
floor you both.
Kill.
And I want to laugh and I go,
traumatized.
What?
I think even some of my friends still to this day know the look.
It's true. It's so, I get it. I get that. But it limits me because I'm kind of a jokester and I'm kind of a face maker. And it has nothing to do with what you guys are responding to. You know what I mean? It's but I get it. I try so hard and I don't always succeed at changing some of my ways so that people, especially my kids and my husband, to react to me differently.
Wow, that is really progressive and really thought
Yeah.
forward, and like nobody does that to try to get different. Yet here we are still reacting to you the same way for all that hard work, Mom.
I know. No, it's fine.
But is that must be a way that you help yourself
Oh, yeah.
heal, and so
It's for me.
for you.
It's for me. So there's nothing wrong with a parent, if you ask me, making a sacrifice, for instance, saying, you know what, I've got to change. Even if it's going well, if you see a reaction like that, you got to be careful. There's nothing wrong with me saying, don't make the faces. They both react to that some way or another. And there's nothing, why can't I do that?
Right.
You know, it's like my kids. I want to help
Or the people
them.
that you love, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, some people might say, well, you know, they should get used to what you're like. And yeah, they do to a point. But when you're with your parent, it's hard. It's a very hard relationship, Jess. You know what we've been through over the years with, I've been through stuff with both kids and both of you. And I get it. It is hard. And we're not all perfect.
Probably why Beth and I don't have children. Well, let's continue down this road then. So did you know you always wanted to be a mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was very young. I was 19 when I had her. I had Beth when I was married before. And I really kind of wanted to get out of my house, so I got married. And I had that, but all I wanted was a baby. That's all. And I think I was looking for unconditional love.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I was looking for a way to, if I have a baby, I'll feel the unconditional.
I don't think a lot of people admit that, but I think it's a big reason people have children.
That's not a great reason to do that.
It's a very self-centered reason.
Right.
But it's very common, and it's
Yeah.
a very normal thing. Plus, you grew up in a very chaotic home, so.
Chaotic home, chaotic world. You know, I was back in the day when Vietnam was happening. That was a big deal because my people I went to school with were going to war. You know, they were drafted.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah, it was a crazy time. But yeah, did I want more children? No.
It's funny, right?
No. And that's probably, you know, something that you see as a woman now. You go, well, you know.
And this was after Beth. You were like, no, I don't want more
No.
children.
And then even when I married your dad, we decided not to have children.
Right.
Because we had Beth, and we were both crazy about her. She was a wonderful kid, the whole thing. And then you came along 5 years after we were married, and because that's another thing. I want to throw this in.
You can say what
young
this floor is
people
yours.
get married and have babies right away. Don't do that. Here's why. Give yourselves a chance to live life a little bit, meaning how you're going to act with each other when the bills aren't paid and the bad things happen. Give yourself a chance to get to know each other. So it always bothers me because people say, oh, I want a baby, you know. Yeah, wait a couple
And
of
you're going to
years.
struggle, and you're
You got to
gonna
live together, you know. But anyhow, back to,
No, that's great.
we thought we were fine. Now, Dad will tell you a different story now because he would have had more children now that he's looking back, you know. It didn't bother me one way or another. If we had had more kids, it wasn't like I would go, oh, my God. As a matter of fact, I did get pregnant again after you. And I feel like it was fine. Okay.
Well, it was interesting because you had Beth, you were like, we're good, we're done. And then so many years later, Beth and I are 14 years apart.
Years.
And were you nervous when you got pregnant, like this time around with me? Like, because you're a little
No, I
older,
was
you were just
thrilled.
excited. Yeah.
I was thrilled when I was pregnant with you.
And then
And then I was thrilled when I was
pregnant
surprised, you know. I mean, I've never been a diehard, I'm not having kids.
Okay.
And no, we made this decision and we were living it for 5 years together, married. And when it happened, I'm not the type of person who would say that and then because I feel that way, not have kids if they were coming and you didn't have, much say about it, it's just coming. No. As a matter of fact, doctors, because I was 34 when you were born, so this new baby, would have been 38 or 9.
The one you miscarried
And then
with.
back in those days, nowadays people have them in their 40s, but back then they said, oh, they got to check you. I said, I won't check it. It's my baby.
You didn't want to do
It's
an
coming.
amniocentesis.
Whatever it is, it's coming. But I lost it. So once I was pregnant, I was like, yeah, yay.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you raised these two basically only children.
Yes, true.
With two, not with two different men. Basically, Dad did a lot of the raising with Beth too, and your families. Let's talk about. You said you wouldn't change anything except for how you raised your kids. So,
Definitely.
what would you do differently?
I would have empowered you. I would have empowered you.
Yeah, that makes me want to cry.
I was trying to save you all the time. Parents do this all the time. I see it all the time. I did it all the time. Oh, don't do that because, I'm going to save you from that rock in your foot. Don't run on the beach. Don't, blah, 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 blah. I would have sat back, let you have consequences of your own. I was always trying to save you from consequences. Bad decision.
Dad was too. Wasn't just you.
Dad too. Well, we came from the same
I know.
thought of bringing up kids. It's what we heard.
You guys were fearful a lot, I think, right?
A lot.
Were you like that with Beth as well?
Well, Beth, I kind of brought up on my own.
Yeah.
I was married, but he was never around. So, no, I can't say I even thought about it.
You were so young.
I was happy I had this child.
Yeah.
I kind of, no, I didn't think of anything.
So do you think it was because you were younger when you had her that you weren't as afraid?
I was a little ignorant.
Which is nice.
And I had her, yeah, exactly. I had her, I was thrilled.
What do you think it was about me that made you so afraid that you and Dad?
You were different from her. You got to remember, I brought her for 14 years. You were so different that I went to Barnes & Noble's and I read about Beth is a Virgo, you're a Pisces. I literally sat in Barnes & Noble's and read about Pisces. I said, I don't know this child. I don't know how she reacts differently than Beth did. That's all I had to go by is the child I already had. And I tried to learn who you are. And it helped a little, but we still had bad habits from the way we were brought up. Dad and I were intimidated by you because Beth was so
She was
gentle, quiet.
and was very what's the word? Did what she was told. Not that, but she liked to please you guys as well.
People
right?
pleasing,
Yeah.
Well,
But she was an inline kid a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it was easy.
There's a word that I'm not thinking of, but yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Easier.
You were just different. You were like sparky and, gung ho and wanted to do what you wanted to do.
I felt like I came out of the womb not wanting to be parented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
I really did not.
You were like, I got this.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, I don't think you do.
Don't bother.
I don't think you understand that you probably don't have this.
Yep. And you were just different from her. And that was how that's what I saw.
So it posed a little bit more of a challenge than, yeah.
But we enjoyed you a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a very...
honestly, we're happy to have you. And like I said, I would have had the third child too. I'm not one to not do that.
I think it's interesting that you say that you would choose to empower because that's how Worthy came to be, right? So it's, we had the most loving, together, stable home. But even within that, I don't think people understand, it's there can be all sorts of mixed messaging, right?
Yeah.
And it really can. And I think it's just and even though we all grow up so differently, have different trials and tribulations, especially during adolescence and whatnot, we can still walk away with completely opposite messages and stories, than people that grew up in the same house together or similar that grew up in completely different. And I think for me, the constant saving just told me that I wasn't capable.
Yes, that's the message.
And so, I mean, that's just me, though. Somebody else.
I think that's everybody.
Well, maybe
I do.
There's something to that, and then it made me, instead of the confidence and like the grit to like do it on my own, it was kind of like there was a constant doubt, or and then that's where like I think codependency came in a lot for me.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad in a way because nobody was trying to hurt anybody here. It wasn't like, oh, let's ruin her. It's not.
But I think this is important for parents to listen to too, because we pick up on things as kids, and I definitely picked up on your fear in general, and I think it made me anxious. You know what I mean? And I think. And I think we take on things we had small quarters when we were, living together too. It's like you pick up on energies, but I just think it's important to think about like, how do you want this child to feel right in the end?
Right.
So it must be so hard in the moment. I'm not a parent.
Don't think about that. I've talked to many people that have either friends with small children and stuff. I can tell they don't look at it like the way we're talking about it.
I know.
They look at it like whatever they were brought up with, whatever that is, good or bad, that's how they're doing it. And I see, now listen, you don't have to be perfect at all this, learn new skills.
No.
But if you could start to practice it a little bit, I think it empowers the child.
What kind of practices would you do you think, or what kind of practices did you learn later or wish that you...
Well, I have told everybody this story, so it's probably boring if people that know us...
Well, there's a whole new audience here for you, Mom.
But there's a whole... This is one of the most profound things that happened to me. When you were about 14, you were in middle school, and you came home with a report card. And I was sitting at the kitchen table, and you came in and you handed me the report card. Now, normally you had been an A, B student, and on the report card there was a C. And what I did, which is what all parents do that aren't, trying to do it differently, which it was me, I said, "What's this?" And I pointed to the C. You said one of the most profound things I've ever heard a kid say. You said, you took it back and you're, "Don't you think I already feel bad?" I went, What? I didn't even think of that. Never thought about that.
Never thought about how I was
that
feeling.
You were feeling that about it. It isn't. So anyhow, here's the funny part. The next day, Oprah Winfrey has her talk show at the time, and she has a doctor on who's talking about, I don't know, I turned it on, he was talking. This is what she said when I turned on the television. She said, so, if a child has a bad report card, what do you say when they... And I thought, there are cameras in my house?
Listening. Yeah.
So I was waiting for the answer. I'm like, tell me what to say, what to do. He said, well, most parents will point out
the negative.
Yes. And then they will, be mad or show disdain of some sort. He said, so she goes, okay, well, what do you say? And I'm like, on the edge of this really happened.
You're like,
on the edge of my seat, I'm like, what should I have done? And he said, you look at the report card and you hand it back to the child and said, let me know if you need any help with this. Bang!
Yeah.
That's empowering.
It's so empowering.
So that story was so profound to me that I thought I tried. And this was, at the time, I wasn't in therapy about this or anything, but I thought I could have followed up. So so I read books.
Yeah.
One book was about how to bring children up, and the women's, it was by two women, it was a long time ago, and I'll never forget this either. She said, when a child, you say to a child who's whatever age, 6 to 15, whatever, go make your bed. You go clean your room and make your bed. And then you go in there, and they made the bed. And she said, as you look at it, it's of course not the way a parent would have made the bed. But they don't say anything. They go, oh, really? Great job. And then they go put their hand on the bed and take the wrinkles out. Sense the message, not good enough.
Right. Yep.
So that's the kind of trickery
So true.
that parenting does to you. You don't know these things. You don't
why do you need to do that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
know,
It seems like
I
it's
know.
like just let them.
Yeah.
Like, don't we love that one Instagram account with the dad that cooks with his son, and they just he lets him just do, make a mess, do it
Exactly.
the whatever way.
We were not brought up that way.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
All we know. That's why I say people shouldn't have kids right away. Get to know each other. Talk about how you'll bring a child up.
So important.
Stuff like that. But we are going by what we had, and God love them. Our parents never knew anything except do this and be that, and So,
I think that's a grace that we don't give the generations enough, and our parents and grandparents, and that everybody's doing what they can, the best they can with what they know at the time.
Right.
Really
it's all they have.
What is something that you were so grateful that you got from your mother that you remember?
Oh, my mother.
So Mammy passed how long ago now?
10 years ago.
Yeah.
She had a very bad drinking problem for years and years. But then when she didn't, when somebody stops abusing themselves, they have to get help on how to look at the world differently. But she didn't do that. But she did stop drinking.
She did.
But I used to say about my mother, I should have been sick all the time. She was an angel. She would make my favorite soup, but she would do, it was like, why aren't I sick more?
That was her true self.
True self.
Yeah.
True self. So, and I remember it, and I loved it. So
taking care of you in those moments.
Yeah.
What do you wish you had gotten more of from her?
More of that. Mostly, I look back now and I think she just wasn't educated in any other way of doing it. And it was very hostile, her mother and she were, yet she always had my grandmother in her life.
Yeah.
I'll never understood it because that woman told my mother she didn't even love her, told her those words.
She really was.
And I'm not sure I would have stayed around for that,
Well, so let's go to that for a second. You're somebody that, has extremely strong boundaries and is not afraid to draw a line in the sand with people. I mean, it takes some time, but we have, through the years, I've watched you have to separate yourself from people that you love. Yeah. Can you tell me, to me, there's a couple ways to look at it. When I was growing up, it seemed very harsh because I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
I just know we're not talking to so-and-so again for this reason. But where did that sense of, and then another way to look at it is that it's a worthiness thing where you're like, I don't, just because they're that way, it doesn't mean I have to subject myself to that. So it's such a strong, self-preservation and act of self-love, I think, and looking at it now, but painful. So can you tell me about where those boundaries came from? Or
It's probably from my childhood. I already had things I was running away from. That's why I got married so young. I don't want people to be toxic and be in my life. I mean, I'll take it for a while, but I decided a long time ago, I'm not wasting time with that. I don't need to be in their life, even if we're relatives. It's a lot of blood relatives.
A lot of blood
too.
relatives you don't speak
And
to.
we did it, and I did it, and I just don't accept that. I thought to myself, why do I have to? Just because they're blood? No.
Well, and this was at a time your mom, this was at a time your sister. I mean, and how was that for you doing that?
It was very difficult. Yeah, it was very depressing. I went to therapy for all that, and it helped so much. I wouldn't know. I just knew I can't do that. I can't keep. It's like putting your hand on the stove when it's hot. Keep putting it on there. Why would you do that? Just don't do
Just
that.
kind of keep going back to that relationship, even though it's.
Oh yeah,
completely
it took me
toxic.
It took me a long time. Any relationship that I don't have now
Yeah,
took a long time
to get there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't just go, oh, you suck, and then I'm going.
Right.
No, it's years of disrespect. I've had friends, I've had family that I don't speak to, and I'm okay with it. I'm actually, and to be honest with you, I don't do it arbitrarily. This is very thought out. I don't just go, somebody's an asshole to me, and no.
Right.
It's not like
Which, again, is like what I thought was happening when we were younger. I was
But
like,
as
why
a
is
kid,
that?
I can
Yeah, I was
imagine.
like, why is that, And then you realize,
Yeah.
that's been going on a long time.
But
Yeah.
that happened with a lot of people. They go up to the
Sure.
line, and then they go over.
Yeah.
And that's when I go, oh. I mean, this isn't, all of the relationships I have rejected in the last 20 years have been long relationships, meaning that I've been putting up with shit. Now, look, I'm not saying I'm perfect.
No,
They
I
probably are
understand.
irritated by me on things, but what I'm saying is that they came to a place where, no, that's it.
Yeah.
It finally had to be real.
Do you forgive them when you let them go? Is there a sense of forgiveness, or do you not even?
Do not give a shit. Forgive them for what? Being jerks to me for 20 years? No. No. I'm being stupid, but it's just.
No, I mean, there's a way to. I don't know. Some people have.
I don't need it.
A lot. You don't need it. That's actually the
I don't
perfect
need
way.
it. Yeah.
And what? Because you feel like that's enough, and you've come.
It's over.
It's over.
See, when I say it's over for me. I'm done. I don't have any thoughts about it or regrets because I went a long time with each one. Nobody has been cut off in the first hour I met them, believe me. This is years and years and years of shit that add up.
Yeah.
And that's when I take my stand, when that last thing happens.
And in your gut.
So I gave them grace, I gave them forgiveness for years and years. Well, they're upset, they didn't mean it. No, it comes to a point that please.
Speaking of the cutoff game, we had the funniest conversation the other day when you were talking about your funeral. And which I want to highlight, by the way, that when Mom turned 75, we had a big party for her because you want to explain this because you wanted to be eulogized while you were alive. So
Exactly.
we all got up.
What's the point of an eulogy when you're dead? What is the point of that?
So, and she read this somewhere or figured this out. So we all got up and kind of said, some type of
fun.
eulogy. Yeah, it was actually a beautiful party, but it was kind of really, it made a lot of sense. It's like, wouldn't you want to hear those? But on the other note, and the funny story was that we were talking about your funeral again, because Mom has often likes to just let us know what she wants there. There's an opera singer we're supposed to have.
Control it.
Yeah, still controlling from beyond the grave. But you also said, I've decided that you're going to call. Go ahead. This is the best.
I have decided that I want to let the people know that I have cut off in my life, they're not welcome at my funeral. I don't know. Do you do that email? Because they probably blocked me, but
I mean, just the idea of you
yeah.
calling them and
Don't bother trying. Or don't come in and hug my kids and my husband. Tell them how sorry you are. Oh, really? Yeah, you weren't sorry when I was alive. Don't bother when I'm dead.
I was laughing so hard, and I think there's something really fucking cool about that. I also was like, Mom, we can have a private funeral. You're like, no, I don't want them even thinking. They can sneak in. You might not even know who I'm talking about. It was kind of brilliant, and I really commend you on your ballsiness and your toughness. I mean, when you know something, you know it, and when you really have a strong sense of
That's
who
a
you
good way
are.
to describe me.
I think
When I know it, I know it.
yeah, and I think I want to just touch on this one thing that just organically came to me before I give you some closing questions, but is that there was a profound moment for me as your daughter looking at you because you were a stay-at-home mom my whole life. You had a lot of talents, a lot of gifts, and I would wonder, like, are you going to pursue them? Are you going to have your own career? I mean, obviously you worked up until I was young. That was like the first time. I was really the first time in your life you didn't work.
Yeah.
But you didn't need to, and that was really nice. Do you think, well, first of all, let me ask you, do you think there was a benefit to you staying home with me because you could? Or do you wish that you had not?
I was thrilled to stay home with you because I couldn't with Beth. Once I left her, I was for years with Beth till she was 6. And then I got so bored. So I had taken, I'm a class taker. Mm-hmm. I've taken any kind of class you can think of. From writing to acting, I went to Emerson, I went to BU for psychology. I mean, I'm always looking to learn. Mm-hmm. And so and plus I was bored. I mean, I was able to stay home. I was a very fortunate woman to be able to do that and be there for my children that could
care less. I gave my mother a run for her money, especially in the teenage years. I wanted nothing to do with this poor woman.
You walk in and go, "You're here?"
Right. Yeah.
But no, I just was very fortunate, and so I didn't crave. I didn't crave working, but I craved the. I was just lonely because a lot of women worked, so I joined the PTA, and they were like, "Okay."
The PTA.
That was the beginning of my invisibility.
Oh my gosh, the PTA was not really interested.
They weren't friendly.
Oh yeah.
And I knew them all. Mm-hmm. That's what got me. But anyhow, it must be me. I must be giving off. I give off that don't try it. Don't come here. So anyhow, but I was bored. And then when you came along, that's the PTA that I'm talking about.
Yes.
But even when Beth was young, I had to work because I had left her father. We needed money, and I had to work. So I worked right through from the time she was like 7 or 8.
Now, do you think that you found worth and value, or your worth and value, in being a mom, or did you decide that came from somewhere else?
No, I don't consider it a mom thing so much as a personal thing. And coming from my background, Dad just made a joke about because he had such a glorious childhood. There were no issues.
That's what he thinks.
Honest to God, he was just talking about like, oh my God, we were free to play in the streets.
They're also boys too.
It was a boy.
Yeah.
But he honestly, and I said, I was busy listening for who's going to throw the frying pan. I mean, and I don't feel badly about that. And that's my history. So it is, But it does. Your history does develop you a certain way.
Yeah. And what did you?
I think I'm strong. I think I'm like, I'm not going to I put up with bullshit for a long time, and then I go, That's it. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier. No, even in with Beth's father, the same thing. I put up with it for so long. It wasn't like a bad situation. It wasn't anything,
Yeah.
There was no input.
So I think what I was getting at too, which is what I want to bring up, was a sense of like purpose. And for me, as I was growing up, I think watching Dad be successful too, and figuring out where I was going to go was like somehow like figuring out my purpose would help me feel worthy, and like my worth was like attached to all of these like external things and being productive and being busy. But how did you feel like with your worth in the moments of...
I educated myself constantly. I really did. I read a lot. I was, as I said, I took classes and everything. I had to nourish.
So funny, because I didn't really know you were doing that.
You didn't know what?
I didn't really know you were doing that,
Yeah, I did all my life because that was important to me. I needed food for my soul, and that did it for me. And I took a writing class at Emerson.
Yep.
I took psychology at BU.
So it fed you in that way.
Oh my God, it was like a lifesaver. Because I'm not, I love being with the ladies, like a girls' night, girls' things, and I have wonderful friends, but I think I did look for more of a purpose and an example for you guys a little more. I don't know what was.
The thing was, it was beautiful because I mean, you never. I was probably judging you at that point. Like, what is she doing? And why does she want to stay home with me? Yeah, but no. I remember you coming to this decision that your purpose in life was to be a cheerleader for the people that you love.
And I sat at my kitchen table at Seal Harbor. And that's when I decided, I go, what is this all about? Because you were fine. You were little. You were in school. Dad's doing his thing. Beth was fine. And all of a sudden I went, what the heck? And you're right. That moment, I said, take great pride in being a cheerleader for people you love and people you care about. And I think I've done that a lot.
You're a champion for not only your family and the people that you love, but other people, struggling, and you help so many people through charity and you and Dad, but you particularly have always been that way. You're always sneaking around on the computer, finding some person who's struggling with business that needs help. And I think that is so admirable, admirable. And I just, I really look up to you in that way. And I think it was such a deciding moment. Like, my value, my worth comes because I said it, because I have it, because it is me. And my purpose can be anything I want it to be, as long as there's intention behind it. And I think in that moment, you really chose to put intention behind it instead of just guessing or falling into the, role that you were given.
I agree. I think that's exactly what happened. And it never hit me before that. I never, because I would go to, Dad was in law school, and we'd go to these parties at a professor's house or something, and I'd be like, they go, so what do you do? And I wanted to go, I do whatever he needs to be the best he can be. I would never, never say that. I wouldn't even think to say that.
That's awesome.
But I think that's why Dad and I lasted so long, through thick and thin. We just are there for each other.
If you had one word that would describe the success of your relationship, what would it be?
Forgiveness. Forgiveness is very important.
Yeah.
As well as love and all the obvious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was I'm going to give you some last kind of quicker questions here.
The flash round.
Yeah, flash round, exactly. Your favorite thing about being a mom?
That my daughters love me, and I know they're there for me.
Least favorite thing?
favorite thing is the women they've become.
Okay. Least favorite thing.
Least favorite. I don't see them and hear from them enough.
Note.
You asked.
Note to self. Okay. Okay. Good. Funniest mom moment.
Oh my God, funniest. Oh my God, that's hard
Yeah.
because I have several.
I know.
I think one of the funniest is when you were 16.
Oh my God.
It's about you.
I know.
It's you were
I know
16,
where we're going.
and we jokingly got a Barbie doll for you or something, and we had a party at the house, and you hated it.
With my sweet 16 or something.
Something like
Was
that.
it? Yeah.
And we jokingly and you had no sense of humor about that. So that was one of the funniest. Dad and I are going, oh my God, what have we done?
Which is funny because we have the best sense of humor. Like our family is like, that is how we survive everything is through laughter. And I was probably just mortified. Okay. What was your favorite age of your kids?
That's interesting. I think in the last 5 years, whatever that age is.
Really?
Yeah.
So the 5 years for Beth, the like mid 50s and mid 40s?
Yeah.
Like
I
or early
think we
40s?
both started to see the value of your parents.
Seeing them as human beings, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we talked about, okay, so just closing with the mom thing. What advice would you have right now for moms bringing up young kids? Just like if you could say something to them, I think it's important. You've raised two kids.
Said it. Empowerment.
Empowerment.
That's very difficult as a parent to empower children. That means you got to let them feel the pain, let them feel the happiness, let them express themselves. And if you notice, most kids don't talk to their parents for a long time, right up until 20s and maybe longer. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And this is from, even when your parent says, oh, no, I won't judge you. It's like, no, because if you empower them along the way, that's the advice I would give anyone.
Well, they're not going to second guess themselves coming to you because they already feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that would be, but what I'm proud of the women you and Beth have become, because you both do a lot of charity work. You both do, you're caring about those around you, and I see that. I didn't do that. You did that. Beth did that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very, very proud of that.
That comes from you. I hate to say it. I hate to burst your bubble over there, but it does. We see you doing that. I mean, and then what you give to us right now is so valuable too. And I think that watching you go through the aging process and what do you have? Right. Exactly. I mean, you're literally 79, which is wild to me, but what advice would you have to say to young women struggling with, this world that we live in, always trying to look younger and whatnot? Our worth is attached to the way we look. I mean, what advice do you have for aging?
I would say to empower yourself by reading and having honest girl talk with friends and sharing. That helps a lot. Talking to safe places, safe people, but educate yourself. This is a new world. These people nowadays are bringing children up in the day of Instagram and Facebook and all this other stuff, and you can't stay behind. You have to see and make your decisions about that, and then stick to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one piece of advice I have for parents. Once you say something, stick to it.
They did not do that. They did not.
Yeah, it's hard because what happens is if you had done something I was going to punish you for, I say, Jessica, you're in the house for a week. And then 3 days go by and you'd go, can't I just go? And I go, okay, go ahead.
Because you're also punished.
I'm punished. Sharon and I talk about that.
Yeah.
My best girlfriend, she and I had the same take on that. Mm-hmm. It's
like torture.
But see, don't say, so I found out from a psychologist what you do say.
Okay.
If you do something wrong, if there's a father involved, if there's not two parents or a partner or whatever, I'm going to we'll talk it over and let you know what your punishment. And then you can make it a realistic one they have to follow through. But when kids just walk all over you, you let them. That's what we do.
Yeah, and we take full advantage.
Yeah. But I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of Beth. I couldn't be happier.
No. Well, this was so nice. I mean, and another fun fact about Chris Raimondi is that she has her own podcast. We're actually sitting in her podcast room. So a way that she is able to also express yourself and talk and have great conversations is on her podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that just for the listeners and where we can find you?
Share anything, because I'm listening. It's I like when people just come on and, whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
And I've had some people just tell me things or in their talking. It's amazing. It's like, and it's helpful. It's sort of, you hear little things like, oh, I didn't think of that. But people are so willing to do it too. That's what is amazing to me. People want to be heard.
They do. And I think that's you are someone who provides a safe place. By the way, if you can hear in the background, my dad just got home, so he's rustling around with bags. Sorry about that.
I love it.
And you're somebody that provides a really safe place for people to open up. Yeah. People love talking to you. They gravitate towards talking to you. So I'm so happy that you decided to make it a podcast.
I know.
And something that, is in our blood. Your dad was in the radio. Your paternal father was in the radio business. And
disc jockey.
Disc jockey, yeah. So, so Share Anything is on all the platforms. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. And I don't think it's on YouTube, but all the other podcasts.
No, it isn't on YouTube.
Yeah. And it's audio only.
Audio only.
So to see her beautiful face, you have to watch this one. Well, happy birthday, Mom. I love you. I'm grateful for you. It has been an absolute gift being your daughter. And I learn so much from you every day, especially now.
I love you too, sweetheart.
Yay. Thanks. And thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of Worthy the Podcast. Our goal is to build a community, and we do that through people like you who listen, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone you care about. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, as well as our YouTube channel. And if this episode resonated with you, leave a review. We want to hear from you. Thanks for being here, and remember, you've always been enough. Period. This podcast is meant to inspire and educate, but I am not a licensed therapist or medical professional. Everything shared here is based on personal experience and perspective, so take what resonates and leave the rest.